I didn't see them talking about similar incidents in matters concerning the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. That's why I was saying it was a little ideological. They were looking for things on which to destroy our case, but similarly not taking sufficient time to look at what happened on the other side. And that will be another story for another day.
Would you admit you might not have been well prepared for this case?
We were very well prepared. I think compared to 2017, we were a lot more well prepared.
What would be the 2 or 3 points of mistake that you say the court might have made mistake on that?
In 50% plus 1, I think they were ideological. We are using the baseline of total registered voters in the land as against those who turned out to vote. If you read any legal material on what should be a turnout, including the Black's Law Dictionary, turnout is normally based on registered members in a country as against those who turn out to vote. So there are so many other examples we can take up.
And seeing what is your take on all grounds?
Yeah?
On all the key 8 issues you lost.
The issues that the court formulated, but we're quite happy to live with it and talk about it another time. Philip, you would want to say something?
Just on the idea that we lost on all 8-9 points, we find it incredible that that could be the holding of the court. In more than several of those cases, we had overwhelming evidence. As my senior counsel, Mr. Orengo says, the servers were not opened. The involvement of the Venezuelans for a full month before, half a month before the elections,
of the Constitution,
and, up to the 16th of August,
that without attainment of which there can be no declaration.
We perhaps a little distressed on the over-reliance
this
of a registrar's
data-specific
report
threshold is what this court declared in John Aaron Mwau and 2 others.
Open the servers. The servers, repeat, the servers have all the answers. The exact role, we provided evidence that the Venezuelans were downloading documents, creating documents, and generating documents. None of that was touched. But as my colleague says, we hope they'll address all this in the final judgment. As somebody has said, it's incredible that we could lose on all points and they could win on all points. But as Senior has explained, it's probably the ideological aspect of this judgment.
Are you still confident that on the first it will be a different way?
No. If they have tied their hands, they can't get out of it. They have given their final decision. It's now a question of them finding the reasons for those findings and justifying them. It's not always easy. I think they have some time to do it.
The other thing that I found a little bit disturbing is the presentation of the Form 34 by somebody I really respect as an advocate, Julie Soweto. It was described as hot air, but you could see when that evidence was being adduced before the court, how engaged even the justices were. So I found it rather odd for them to describe it as hot air. I think that's why I'm saying this is ideological, because they would have said on the evidence presented, we find there was more weight as to the evidence which was adduced by the other side. But to say that it was hot air and it was a document coming from the Electoral Commission, I found it very, very disturbing.
If I may explain a little further on that point made by Julie Soweto in the petition, that gentleman, Camargo's name was not supposed to be on Form 34A. If at all he was involved in this election, he was involved on the technology side. So to find it anywhere near a Form 34A raised more questions than answers. There was silence. And of course, on the issue of the famous 34A that Julie was describing, it was found to have been signed by the agents of UDA and UDM on the 7th, which is before the elections. No mention was made of that. So many things, many questions, perhaps more questions than answers, but it is the decision of the court. They have to live with it just as we have. Is that all? Thank you.
On the judgment that has been rendered by the Supreme Court judges this afternoon?
The correct way of appreciating law, which is always look for the evidence, compare the evidence against the allegation. You come up with something like staging and dumping is something we had in America. How is it done? Ours is a manual process. That is how the judges went about it. It's the correct way of going about it. Yes.
You've been here in 2013, 2017, and now in 2020. In your appreciation of the processes by the Supreme Court, what would you say?
I think this is the best. I wasn't here just 2017 one time. I was here 2017 two times. So this is the fourth petition. And I think in this one, the judges have set the bar very, very, very high. Yes, very, very high.
From the onset, when you were preparing for this case, what did it take to achieve such a verdict?
A lot of hard work, This is the first time 8 petitions were filed. 2013 we had 2, and the third one about valid votes. 2017 we had, I think, only 2. Yes, there were 2. And then the third one was just 1. This was a very unique position. Well calculated by 8 petitioners, of course, as you heard the judges saying, 1 primary and the others were proxy. Yes.
Now, lastly, lessons learned, especially in how our elections are conducted in this country. What would you say is the biggest or the 2 biggest lessons from the verdict rendered this afternoon?
One is that lawyers should not over-exaggerate or over-dramatize things. Lawyers should be what they are supposed to be. Be rather more calculating. Do not have theories that you cannot back up with evidence. And the second theory, the next lesson is politicians ought to now accept defeat. You don't need to come to Supreme Court. Yes, accept the defeat.